Sidone spider silk weavings, objets d'art, rare books, antiques, and medicines manufactured in the shipboard labs. It was the medicines that were most precious, but also problematic. In addition to being traders, the enigmatic Karaot had been masters of genetic engineering, and the major thing they wanted in trade was DNA from every creature, sentient or not, that they came across. When humans had finally figured out how to transcend light speed, they discovered, to their horror, they were not the ultimate creation in the universe. True to form, Oliver's species had attacked and conquered every other known race, founded the Solar League, and wanted no part of the Karaot's genetic shenanigans. There was no way the perfection that was humanity was going to be contaminated with alien cooties, especially when the aliens in question had no standard body type or gender. The Karaot could continue to distort their own corrupted bodies, but they were outlawed from doing so to any other race now under the sway of the Human League, and the punishment for appropriating human DNA was death. The paranoia was so great that it ended up extending even to the Karaot mastery of medicine. Once Oliver had shared the disgust and fear of the Karaot, but ultimately he decided the ban was absurd. And it wasn't just because he and his crew made a lot of money smuggling black market medicines. Fortunately, there were places unknown to the League and beyond the reach of imperial law enforcement that didn't share the League's obsession with the now vanished Karaot. The crew of the Selkie could sell the drugs they would loot from the abandoned vessel to hidden worlds and on the black market. Yup, they were going to be rich. Oliver's gaze raked the length of the massive ship as it lay against the wall of an ice-rimmed crater. The Karaot ship made his own ship, the Selkie, look like a child's toy. Oliver couldn't decide if the derelict was more reminiscent of a fallen skyscraper or a beached whale. He decided skyscraper, for it seemed to be studded with lights and ports, all dark now, and there were strange superstructures which looked like balconies, whose function he couldn't even begin to guess.
Still, you'd think the damn aliens would have been a bit more considerate and abandoned their ships in more pleasant places,
Luis added.
Why not a tropical paradise?
Perhaps we aliens enjoy making life miserable for humans,
Grarak said. The words were punctuated with clicks from her beak. It was odd for the spider-like alien to make a sassy remark, and it amused Oliver. He tried to stifle his chuckle, but it carried over the helmet radio, and Luis gave an exasperated sigh and turned to look at him. Even through the faceplate, Oliver could see the et tu expression on his comm officer's face.
Really, hombre? I get no support from a fellow human?
Luis asked.
You might notice we're, really outnumbered.
And one of those aliens, who outnumber you, thinks you humans could maybe stop chattering so we can crack open this treasure box?
Dahlia, their ship doctor, radioed from the ship. Oliver figured the gentle, sweet-faced Hajin would be eager to get her hands on the medicines.
I would second that request,
came the fluting tones of Jax over their suit radios. The Toponi flute wasn't much use when it came to hauling heavy objects, given that he looked like an attenuated stalk of bamboo with agile but fragile fronds for appendages. He had remained on the ship with Dahlia. Oliver glanced back to where his ship rested on a flat, methane ice-coated plain. Despite the name, his ship wasn't a graceful beauty. It was squat and broad, the outer hull pitted in places and patched in others. She was a truck, designed to carry goods while keeping air inside so the inhabitants could survive as they made their way between worlds with those trade goods. Still, she was his, or at least 3/4 of it was his. A blown fold converter 6 years ago had necessitated that he sell shares to cover the repair costs. Jax had been the only buyer of the shares, and it had worked out. The Toponi flute had integrated smoothly with the rest of the crew, and Oliver was grateful not to have to manage the books any longer. Math had always been his best